In May of 2023, 26-year-old Sarah Ramsamy allegedly drove her SUV onto a beach at Florida's Smyrna Dunes Park, nearly barreling right into a family with a young child. She was confronted by police and eventually apprehended after witnesses claimed her vehicle came dangerously close to children. Police body camera footage obtained by a local news outlet showed Ramsamy standing near a partially submerged blue SUV, seemingly unaware of how closely she had skirted disaster. Ramsamy confessed to being the driver who had brought the vehicle to a standstill in the water and reported that some passerby had stopped her and told her that she almost hit them. She had a passenger in the vehicle whose identity has not been made public. Ramsamy claimed to not believe the pedestrians and explained she was merely trying to make a U-turn. Officers were having none of it. They informed her that the reason people were so freaked out was because driving was prohibited on this part of the beach, and went on to accuse her of driving under the influence. Officers brought a compliant Ramsamy in and booked her on charges that weren't immediately made public. In the wake of the near miss, there have not been any official updates, leaving her fate and that of her passenger a mystery. Number 17. A quick dip. On April the 5th of 2022, an unnamed woman got behind the wheel, drunk, and plunged her car through a fence and into a pool in Perth, Australia. Two nearby neighbors who saw it happen were able to rescue the drunk from the depths. They acted quickly and decisively, taking bricks to the stuck vehicle and smashing the windows to equalize the pressure of the water on the outside of the car and get the woman out safely. According to a local tow truck driver who was called in to remove the wreck, the car had no outside door handles and the inside handles were broken. This meant that the sloshed woman would have likely met her end had the neighbors not intervened. When the pair did reach her, she was reportedly dazed and needed some convincing to calm down and cooperate with her rescuers. The 25-year-old was allegedly both drunk and unlicensed and also had no insurance. The wrecker agreed to simply take the car as scrap in lieu of payment and took a dive. In what was likely to be the most memorable tow of his career, the driver attached the hooks to the submerged vehicle while underwater himself. The woman was calm by the time police arrived, but that didn't stop them from booking her in on DUI charges. She was apparently released on bond because she talked to a local news station later, expressing remorse for her actions and advising viewers not to do what she did. Further updates on the case, including the culprit's identity, were not available. Number 16. Braden DeMartin. On November the 10th of 2019, the town of Toms River, New Jersey, witnessed a horrific accident when a red Porsche Boxster, driven by 22-year-old Braden DeMartin, spun out of control after clipping a center median at high speed. The car hit a nearby embankment and launched into the air before slamming into the second floor of an unoccupied commercial building. Neither DeMartin nor his passenger, 23-year-old Daniel Foley, survived the crash. Subsequent investigation revealed DeMartin's blood alcohol content to be more than twice the legal limit, with marijuana also detected. Authorities believe that DeMartin's severely impaired driving was to blame for the accident. Number 15. John Lipscomb. In May of 2022, a Travis County, Texas judge known for presiding over DUI cases found himself on the other side of the law after a late-night incident. John Lipscomb, elected in 2011, reportedly told deputies he'd had 2 rum and cokes when they contacted him at a North Austin hotel. Witnesses alerted authorities after seeing Lipscomb attempt to back into an occupied parking space. After a verbal exchange with the driver he had hit, the judge reportedly drove around the lot before parking in a handicapped space and entering the hotel. Despite claiming to have had 2 drinks, Lipscomb declined a field sobriety test due to an injured ankle. He later pleaded guilty to DUI charges and served just 1 day in jail. Officials noted that Lipscomb's sentence considered voluntary actions, including inpatient therapies that he undertook after his arrest. Notably, Texas classifies DUI as a misdemeanor, carrying a lighter penalty than in many other jurisdictions. As of recent updates, Lipscomb reportedly plans to return to his judicial duties soon. Number 14. I Will Survive. On July the 29th of 2013, a suspected drunk driver in San Diego, California, plowed through a locked gate and plunged his car straight off of a sheer cliff. Upon miraculously landing right side up, the man emerged from the mostly undamaged car relatively unscathed. Ignoring concerned bystanders and his nearby sedan, the driver, whose identity remains undisclosed by authorities, took a casual stroll on the beach and even paddled around in the water. When rescue teams arrived, a bizarre standoff ensued. Despite visible injuries, the man belligerently refused medical attention, reportedly yelling and fighting with paramedics who simply wanted to help. His defiance delayed his eventual airlift to UC San Diego Medical Center for non-life-threatening injuries. The abandoned car sat on the beach for hours before a tow truck finally arrived to pick it up. When they did, they found a crowd of bystanders marveling at the sheer dumb luck involved in both car and man surviving what seemed to be a fatal drop. Number 13. Fra Thanakorn. In July of 2022, 63-year-old Fra Thanakorn was detained by police for drinking and driving. He claimed that the whiskey he was drinking protected him from COVID-19. To further complicate matters, the offender is a Buddhist monk. He was reportedly spotted stumbling around a market, soliciting money from locals before hopping into his pickup truck. His erratic behavior raised concerns, leading residents to alert the authorities. Footage captured by authorities showed a visibly intoxicated Thanakorn being removed from his vehicle and taken into custody. Once detained, the monk reportedly attributed his actions to the Holy Spirit, claiming he'd only consumed a slice of lime with the whiskey due to his regular driver's recent accident. A breathalyzer test quickly confirmed that he was just as drunk as authorities had suspected. Despite initially insisting that the alcohol helped him stay immune to the coronavirus, Thanakorn was ultimately released. The incident was reported to the abbot of his temple, Mabin Thabat Temple, potentially paving the way for disciplinary action. While Thanakorn faces potential excommunication for violating the alcohol prohibition for monks, it remains unclear whether he will be formally charged for drunk driving. In Thailand, such offenses can lead to fines exceeding $5,500 and prison sentences of up to 10 years, though leniency is sometimes granted by authorities. Number 12. Tammy Beck. In October of 2021, 46-year-old Pueblo, Colorado resident Tammy Beck drove drunk through her own neighborhood and slammed her car into a nearby neighbor's house, trapping the victim inside. First responders showing up just after 8 a.m. found Beck stuck in her car with her unidentified victim trapped under rubble nearby. The victim had apparently been sleeping. At some point during the ensuing rescue, a gas line broke and began leaking. Utility workers shut off all power, water, and gas to the residence. The immediate threat neutralized, rescue workers eventually got the anonymous victim and Beck out of the scene safely. The pair were both sent to a nearby hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Beck was booked on charges of DUI, careless driving, and revoked habitual traffic offender, among others. The woman has a history of DUI offenses and was actually supposed to be in court at the time of the crash. As of this writing, no updates on the case are available. Number 11. Jane Doe takes flight. In April of 2023, an unidentified California woman sped down a residential street with a 10-mile-per-hour speed limit and somehow managed to catch enough air to lodge her car in the second story of a home. First responders rushed to the scene after receiving reports of a vehicle smashed into a house in Cape Horn. Photos showed a car perched precariously atop the carport roof, leaving a gaping hole in its wake. The wayward vehicle reportedly tore through a craft room and even grazed the home's stairway. Firefighters, assisted by local utility workers who shut off power to the building, worked tirelessly to extricate the driver. He was airlifted to the hospital with serious injuries. No one in the house or among the rescue personnel sustained any harm. The investigation into how this vehicular feat occurred is ongoing, with authorities puzzled by how the car reached such a dizzying height, given the nearby hill offering a level entry point. Number 10. Melissa Seals. Tampa, Florida police arrested 21-year-old Instagram model Melissa Seals on suspicion of driving under the influence in the wee hours of February the 10th. of 2023, officers pulled Seals over after she reportedly ran a red light. According to reports, marijuana paraphernalia was found in her car and she refused to take a breathalyzer test. Video of her ride to the police station showed that Seals tried multiple tactics to get out of the arrest. When flirting failed her, she resorted to threatening to sue the department and the arresting officer personally. She was eventually booked into the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and later released on bond. As of the latest available updates, her case is ongoing. Number 9. Ronnie Scott Hicks. In October of 2015, 54-year-old Ronnie Scott Hicks was taken in by officers in Palm Bay, Florida, when he allegedly drove his motorized scooter under the influence, ultimately blocking multiple lanes of traffic on a bridge. Reports detail officers pulling Hicks over in the early morning on suspicion of erratic driving and a strong odor of alcohol emanating from him. He reportedly declined field sobriety tests and medical attention for a head wound, raising further questions. This wasn't Hicks's first encounter with the justice system. Court records reveal 3 previous DUI convictions, though it remains unclear if those involved his motorized wheels. As of this writing, no updates on the court proceedings or Hicks's current status are available. Number 8. Jose Vargas. A young mother's life was cut short, with her children left fighting for theirs after a drunk driver slammed into their car in Hesperia, California on May the 11th of 2023. 41-year-old Jose Vargas steered his Chevy Tahoe head-on into Lisette Villasenor's Toyota Prius on Highway 395. Lisette, on her way to cheer tryouts with her 2 children, 12-year-old Ashley and 6-year-old Daniel, never made it to her destination. The 3 were taken to a local hospital where intensive treatment failed to save Lisette. Ashley and Daniel were left clinging to life in the hospital. Their father, Humberto, has yet to comment as of this writing. The California All-Stars cheer family issued an official statement expressing their regret at losing one of their own, calling out the drunk driver in stark terms. They also set up a GoFundMe to pay for Lisette's funeral expenses and to help Humberto to get by financially in the wake of the loss. Vargas, meanwhile, is awaiting trial as of the latest updates. It is worth noting that he is under a Watson advisement due to habitual DUI offenses, including a 2019 conviction for which he was under probation at the time of the tragedy. This advisement means that a death resulting from Vargas committing another DUI would in turn result in him being charged with murder. Time will tell what penalties he will face as a result. Number 7. Earl Stevens Jr. On June the 27th of 2018, 69-year-old Earl Stevens Jr. began repeatedly bumping into another driver in a McDonald's drive-thru line in Vero Beach, Florida. When police showed up to put a stop to it and figure out the reason behind the man's erratic behavior, they found Stevens with an open bottle of bourbon. To officers, it seemed like just another DUI. Stevens, however, believed that his case was different. He claimed that he was not technically drinking and driving because he was slamming sips of bourbon only while the car was stopped at red lights and stop signs. The drunk man's journey from Port St. Lucie to Vero Beach sipping bourbon the whole way came to a halt when police asked him to step out for a field sobriety test. He promptly failed the test, so deputies cuffed him and brought him into the Indian River Sheriff's Office. To add to his troubles, Stevens did not possess a valid Florida driver's license. When they got him back to the station, Stevens was given a breathalyzer test to check his blood alcohol content and blew nearly twice the legal limit. Stevens, who has 2 prior DUI charges from the state of Missouri, was booked on charges of DUI and driving without a license. Aside from possible slight damage to the car he had tapped in the drive-thru, there was no word on any damage or casualty resulting from his cross-county joyride, so no further charges have been pursued as of the latest updates. Information on the outcome of the case was not available. Number 6. Gary Anderson. On May the 5th of 2019, 68-year-old Gary Anderson of Haines City, Florida, stopped his lawnmower in a parking lot and told a nearby police officer 3 things. 1. He had just crashed into the officer's police cruiser. 2. The cruiser was undamaged. 3. He was drunk. When the cop checked on his car to see if the man was telling the truth, he saw that there was indeed a small amount of damage to the front bumper. Anderson was taken in and charged with his 3rd DUI in 10 years. The habitual offender had not had a valid license in well over 30 years at the time of the incident, and managed to rack up more DUI charges either behind the wheel of a car he shouldn't have been driving, or in this case, behind the wheel of a riding mower. Once he made it to the station for booking, Anderson claimed that the officer that took him in had poisoned him, then claimed that he had been given illegal drugs. He eventually calmed down and agreed to take a breathalyzer test. It revealed that his blood alcohol level was around 3 times the legal limit. Anderson was ultimately charged with DUI, as well as refusing to submit to testing while having a suspended license. Further updates on the case were not available. Number 5. Derek Helms, in a tragic incident near Mount Holly, North Carolina, on September the 10th of 2022. 18-year-old Gabby Carrigan fell from a golf cart driven by 19-year-old Derek Helms. Witnesses reported that several people had been drinking and taking turns driving the cart before the accident. Carrigan was rushed to the hospital but succumbed to her injuries. Helms was charged with involuntary manslaughter, DUI, felony serious injury by vehicle, and reckless driving. He was initially held on a $300,000 bond. Nearly a year later, on October 12, 2023, Helms pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter and DUI. He had a BAC of 0.02 at the time of the crash and had already served 9 days in jail. His plea deal resulted in 24 months of supervised probation, 60 hours of community service, and a substance abuse assessment. Number 4. Stephanie Carabajal. In October of 2019, 26-year-old Las Cruces police detective Stephanie Carabajal was arrested and charged with drunk driving after reportedly falling asleep in her vehicle twice. She was found blocking traffic on Highway 70 East. Carabajal faced 1 count of aggravated driving while intoxicated. She was placed on paid administrative leave pending further investigation. She had been on the force for 6 years at the time of the incident. According to court documents, a witness reported a blue pickup truck blocking traffic with the female driver asleep inside. Carabajal woke up, drove east on Highway 70 while swerving, and eventually stopped on the right side shoulder. When police arrived, Carabajal was passed out inside the vehicle with the engine still running and a strong odor of alcohol present. Carabajal exhibited slurred speech, bloodshot and watery eyes, and had difficulty walking. When questioned by police, she refused a breathalyzer test and mentioned she was an LCPD officer. Carabajal was booked at the Doña Ana County Detention Center and charged with aggravated driving while under the influence. The charges against Carabajal were ultimately dismissed 578 days after her arrest due to violations of her right to a speedy trial. They had been dropped and refiled once before. As of the latest updates, Carabajal was free, but still had to deal with a suspended license and finding a new job. Number 3. Marcis Blahins. In December of 2017, a hit-and-run driver managed to flee the scene of a crash in Suffolk, England, after police refused to pursue him through a muddy field. The suspect, identified as 35-year-old Latvian driver Marcis Blahins, allegedly crashed into 2 cars, including one carrying a family of 3. Police took around a half hour to arrive, and Blahins was gone well before then, having taken off into a muddy field near the crash site. The hit-and-run incident occurred when Blahins' Jeep Cherokee collided with a Mitsubishi Outlander carrying a couple and their 4-year-old daughter. The impact then caused the car to crash into a Mercedes C220 driven by Aaron Tokley, who suffered severe whiplash and bruising. When the officers finally arrived, one of them dismissed the pursuit, claiming that it was too dark and muddy to have any hope of catching the suspect. CCTV footage from a nearby pub later revealed that Blahins had hidden in the muddy field for 5 hours before seeking refuge elsewhere. Witnesses reported that he appeared intoxicated, and pub staff even ordered him a taxi home. Tokley, whose car was damaged in the incident, managed to identify the suspect within 24 hours after his father made an appeal on social media. Their efforts proved futile, Bhin's had already made himself scarce, and no amount of work on the part of the public or the police turned up any clues. Tokely expressed disappointment, criticizing the police for giving up the pursuit before even starting. The family, whose car was hit directly by Bhin's, chose to stay anonymous and did not give any official comment. Bhin's had previously avoided jail time by claiming to seek help for a drinking problem and had a long history of alcohol-related incidents. In April of 2017, he had received a 12-week suspended sentence and a 3-year driving ban for a drunk driving offense. When contacted, his father stated that his son's excessive drinking had caused him to go off the rails. There are no available updates on Bhin's whereabouts, suggesting that he successfully evaded capture. Today's topic was requested by Curtis1589, Mark Harley 237, and Ghost X1296. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Elliot Binny. On January the 17th of 2024, Oklahoma man Elliot Binny was arrested for fleeing the scene of a car wreck that resulted in the death of his 16-year-old daughter, Shelby, and injuries to other family members. The incident took place in Bixby, and officers responded to the single vehicle rollover crash around 9:20 p.m. Authorities reported that Shelby was thrown from the vehicle and was later pronounced dead at the hospital. It was revealed that she was not wearing a seatbelt at the time of the crash. The 3 other passengers in the vehicle, being Binny's wife and their 2 young children, were hospitalized. Binny was apprehended by the police in Chicota, approximately 50 miles from the crash site, on the morning after the incident. Witnesses claim to have seen Binny driving at a high speed, passing multiple cars in a no-passing zone just before the accident occurred. One witness recounted seeing a disoriented man standing outside the family's SUV after the crash. When approached, the man ran away. Police believe that Binny initially fled on foot but later obtained a second vehicle from a family-owned business. During the arrest, Binny was found in possession of vodka and pill bottles with the labels torn off in the front seat of the grey pickup truck that he had commandeered. Binny admitted to consuming alcohol while driving and claimed that the accident occurred due to skidding on an oil spot and running off the road. A DUI test could not be conducted due to the time elapsed since the incident. Binny's wife, who was in the car with him, informed the police that they had been arguing prior to the wreck. As a result, Binny was charged with leaving the scene of a collision resulting in death, first-degree manslaughter, and passing a vehicle in a no-passing zone. It is worth noting that this was not Binny's first encounter with the law. He has had 3 previous charges for leaving the scene of an accident, although those charges were dismissed in 2010 and 2016. The case is still awaiting trial, with Binny out on bail, and updates on the matter are currently unavailable. Right after number 1, we'll tune up our previous release about when being at the wrong place at the wrong time goes wrong. Stick around if you missed that one. Number 1. Mila Dgo. In August of 2013, 22-year-old Florida woman Mila Dgo, drunk behind the wheel, sent her boyfriend a chilling text message just before crashing her rented smart car into a moving truck, resulting in the death of her passenger, 22-year-old Irina Reynoso. Prior to the crash, Dgo had been exchanging angry messages with her boyfriend, with whom she was in the midst of a tumultuous breakup. In one message, she ominously wrote, "I'm done, you ruined me, you'll be the death of me." It was one particular exchange that turned out to be tragically prophetic, as Dgo wrote, "Driving drunk, woo, I'll be dead thanks to you, later." The impact of the crash spared Dgo, but claimed the life of Irina Reynoso, a friend who had only known her for a few months. Dgo pleaded not guilty to charges of DUI manslaughter, vehicular homicide, and 2 counts of DUI with damage to a person. It was later revealed that Dgo had a blood alcohol level of 0.178, more than double the legal limit. In December of 2015, Dgo accepted a plea deal and was sentenced to 4 years in prison and 10 years of probation. Additionally, her driver's license was revoked for life. It was reported that in court, Dgo expressed her desire to become an advocate against drunk driving. Reynoso's family, speaking about the incident, concluded that they were at peace with the outcome of the case and still wanted Dgo to have a future despite having inadvertently cut Irina's life tragically short. During the early hours of December the 29th of 2015, Kyle Statz and Megan Hippie were in the midst of a spree of car burglaries when they entered the parking lot of a 24-hour fitness in Las Vegas. They stumbled upon a man sleeping in a car parked in the lot, which was located near the intersection of Rainbow Boulevard and Alta Drive. The pair parked next to the vehicle, then knocked on the window to wake the man, 42-year-old Neil Gandler. The latter pleaded with Statz and Hippie to leave him alone, but they refused. At one point, 27-year-old Statz pulled out a .40 caliber firearm and shot at Gandler, striking him in the torso. The couple subsequently fled the scene, then went on to commit even more burglaries and even stole a car. Gandler was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. In the wake of the incident, it was revealed that Gandler from Palo Alto, California, was a tech blogger, entrepreneur, and vagabond by choice, and would travel from town to town by car. He'd reportedly sleep in 24-hour fitness parking lots quite often because he felt safe and could use their facilities for hygiene. Statz and 19-year-old Hippie were arrested a few days after their crime spree. Officers initially tracked down Hippie, who admitted her involvement in Gandler's killing and divulged her accomplice's location. Police subsequently found a stolen SUV in Statz' possession, as well as a .40 caliber Glock and ammunition hidden in the bathroom of the apartment where he resided. In September of 2018, Statz was given a prison sentence of 20 years to life, plus an additional 12 to 30 months for using a deadly weapon. Meanwhile, Hippie accepted a plea deal and was sentenced to between 4 and 20 years behind bars. Number 7. Christina Vita Aranda. Fitness trainer and social media influencer Christina Vita Aranda attended a music festival in Paraguay in early 2022. The 29-year-old wife of star Club Olympia footballer Ivan Torres was at the Jaumina Fest concert at the Jose Asuncion Flores Amphitheater when gunfire broke out. Aranda, along with a man by the name of Marcos Ignacio Rojas Mora, found herself in the thick of things as bullets began to fly. They were both shot and killed, though neither of them had been the intended target. Law enforcement sources indicated the shooters were after a local drug dealer who was left in critical condition after being shot as well. Number 6. Paris Homans. 19-year-old Paris Homans, a student at Wright State University in Fairborn, Ohio, drove down to Cincinnati to visit her friend Christian Williams in the spring of 2016. The two planned to go out on the evening of April the 16th, but things took a dramatic turn through circumstances completely out of the young women's control. As Homans and Williams traveled down Reading Road in Bond Hill, a car suddenly pulled up alongside them and opened fire. A witness reportedly came upon Williams covered in blood and screaming for help. Homans had been shot in the head. She was taken to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center where she succumbed to her injuries. Her friend had suffered a gunshot wound to the arm but fortunately made it out alive. After the police began investigating the incident, it would emerge that neither Homans nor Williams had been the killer's intended target. The two men identified as suspects in the case, John Sanders and Robert Carpenter, had reportedly been after a man who'd attacked them earlier in the day. Sanders and Carpenter followed the unnamed man and watched him get into a Toyota Camry, the same vehicle being driven by Homans and Williams later that night. The actual target of the shooting was apparently known to one of Williams's friends, who lent her their car for the evening. In the end, both suspects pleaded guilty to murder as well as other charges related to the shooting. Carpenter was given 28 years to life, while Sanders was sentenced to a minimum term of 20 years. Number 5. Sabrina Moss. A young mother from Neasden in northwest London was tragically caught in the crossfire of a turf war between rival gangs in August of 2013. In court, the incident was described as having been part of an ongoing feud between the South Kilburn gang and the Kensal Green boys. Nursery school teacher Sabrina Moss was reportedly out celebrating her 24th birthday with a friend when the violence broke out. Moss and 25-year-old Sabrina Gacchetti was standing amongst a group of people outside the Woody Grill in Kilburn, taking shelter from a downpour of rain. Then suddenly, two hooded men armed with a submachine gun and a shotgun appeared from behind a vehicle, ran towards the group and opened fire. A bullet struck Moss in the heart, killing her, while Gichetti was left with non-fatal injuries despite being hit in the back by more than 50 gunshot pellets. The shooters, later identified as Hassan Hussein and Yassin James, had reportedly been targeting members of the South Kilburn gang, who happened to be standing under the Woody Grill awning along with the unintended victims and about 15 others. There were 6 individuals who ultimately faced legal repercussions in connection with the case, while Hussein James and their getaway driver, Martel Warren, each faced counts of murder. Prosecutors also filed charges against Reed Daniel and Matthew Buzamada for helping destroy evidence of the crime, as well as Fiona Cullum for sheltering Hussein in the shooting's aftermath. In 2014, Hussein, James and Warren were jailed for life, with their minimum terms set at 37 years each. Daniel and Buzamada, meanwhile, were both sentenced to 3 years behind bars, while Cullum was spared jail time by way of a suspended 18-month sentence. Number 4. Shanon Smith. An unfortunate case of mistaken identity claimed the life of a 24-year-old woman from Fulton County, Georgia, on August the 4th of 2016. On the night in question, Shanon Smith had agreed to drive a co-worker back to their Atlanta residence following their shift at an Amazon warehouse in Union City. After dropping her colleague off at their home on Hadlock Street, Smith made her way back out into the night, but didn't make it far before she was met with a barrage of gunfire. A group of 5 men reportedly started shooting at Smith's vehicle, discharging a total of 43 bullets. The woman was later found slumped over in the driver's seat of her bullet-riddled BMW, which had fallen into a ditch and gotten wedged between shrubs and trees, with its wheels still spinning. Investigators recovered a cell phone that was subsequently linked to 27-year-old DeJohn Fuller. Upon being questioned by police, the latter admitted to his involvement in the shooting, while also implicating Matthew Larkins, Travon Mack, and 2 others. According to Fulton County prosecutors, the men were targeting an individual who'd shot one of their fellow gang members the previous day. Smith's vehicle apparently bore a resemblance to that of the shooter, which wrongfully landed her in the crosshairs of the local gangsters. 37-year-old Larkins and Mack, aged 27, were both convicted of murder, participation in a criminal street gang, aggravated assault, damage to property, and weapons offenses. They were consequently sentenced to life plus 25 years. One of their co-defendants, 25-year-old Richard Ash, was tried simultaneously, but his case ended in a hung jury. It was reported that Fuller, the first suspect identified by police, was likely to take a plea deal. The final member of the group that fired upon Smith was named as Darian Sherry, aged 28. His last known whereabouts were at Grady Memorial Hospital, where he was in a coma following an unrelated accident and wasn't expected to survive. Number 3. Fiddler on the Plane. In March of 2023, an online controversy arose following an Aer Lingus flight from Dublin to New York in which several passengers began playing live fiddle music mid-flight in anticipation of the upcoming St. Patrick's Day holiday. The story initially gained traction after marketing professional Adam Singer posted a video of the impromptu jam session to Twitter with the caption, "I understand it's done from a good place, but I also feel like you don't play music or, much worse, sing in an enclosed space there's no escape from." The issue proved thoroughly divisive once it hit the internet. Some aligned with Singer's assertion that a transatlantic flight, during which many flyers would likely be trying to sleep, would be the absolute wrong place and wrong time to break into song. Others were moved by the public performance, with one Twitter user replying, "So beautiful. That's what humanity is all about if you ask me." In the viral footage, a woman was shown playing the fiddle while a man next to her wielded an accordion. Together they created a traditional sounding Irish folk song, as a number of passengers crowded around to listen and record with their cell phones. Still, there were many who deemed the spontaneous concert to be unfair to those who purchased a plane ticket without the knowledge that loud music would be played on board. Number 2. Paul McGrigor. On the morning of September the 16th of 2012, Irishman Paul McGrigor was walking down William Street in Ballymena when he was suddenly struck by a wayward car that had mounted the curb. The 32-year-old man was reportedly on his way to his parents' house to see his daughter when the collision happened. After fatally striking McGrigor, The vehicle proceeded further down the footpath before hitting a lamppost and a wall. The driver, identified as Patrick Blair, had reportedly blacked out behind the wheel because of a heart condition and later indicated he had no memory of the crash. A file for careless driving causing death was sent to the Public Prosecution Service, but it was declined. An official inquest on the matter determined that McGrigor's death had been an unfortunate accident, brought on by extenuating circumstances beyond anyone's control. Blair reportedly passed away in 2014. Number 1. John Wheeler. Toronto man John Wheeler was waiting for a ride to work outside his apartment building in Scarborough in the early hours of August the 12th of 2020. Without warning, the 45-year-old man was fatally shot in the back with a single bullet while standing on the sidewalk near Danforth Road and Eglinton Avenue East with his lunch pail and coffee in hand. Investigators revealed that there was no relationship between Wheeler and the perpetrator, and the two didn't even interact prior to the shooting. A police sergeant called the incident a wrong place, wrong time situation. The suspect remained at large until the following month when 18-year-old Christopher Mitchell from Brampton was arrested and charged with first-degree murder in connection with the case. A police press release indicated that there were 2 other individuals whom Mitchell had been in the company of before and after Wheeler's killing. As of the latest developments, the investigation is still in progress. Thanks for watching.